Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Welcome to Accelerated Health Radio and TV. I'm your host, Sara Banta. I'm a health coach, natural supplement expert, and a busy mom of 3 teenagers. Today, my guest will be talking about the power of surrender and your mental health. And I know that you really need that strong physical foundation to work on your mental health and spiritual growth, whether it's overcoming anxiety and depression, losing weight, or detoxing your body in the proper way, and even increasing your level of frequency in life. You need that strong physical foundation of health in order to gain the willpower to make the bigger changes in your life. If you're new to following me, I specialize in helping you get there. You can find my health articles, my cutting edge natural supplements, devices, and protocols at acceleratedhealthproducts.com. Accelerated Health Products is the sponsor of the show, so as you support my website, I'm able to bring you more cutting edge content and guests to the show. As I mentioned, today we're going to be diving in on how to surrender and grow in life beyond our own limitations. But first, I wanted to talk about some tools that you can use to help with your mental health, physical health, and live your best life. The goal is to improve mitochondrial health and increase energy at the cellular level so the neurons are firing, leading to an open mind and a growth mindset. The first supplement is Accelerated Silver. Accelerated Scalar Silver is enhancing your immune system's ability to devitalize foreign pathogens, including viruses, bacteria, fungus, and parasites. And if your immune system is bombarded with fighting foreign pathogens over here, it can't simultaneously engage in anti-aging mechanisms or autoimmune issues. And by keeping your immune system strong, the body engages in anti-inflammatory processes, leading to optimal health. This is the supplement that took my son at the age of 9 with a diagnosis of leukemia to the healthy 19-year-old boy he is now, never on antibiotics, earning himself a national record at rowing in his sophomore year in high school, and literally being as healthy as can be as a 19-year-old boy. Next is the Accelerated Keto. This flips you into fat burning mode within 30 minutes, and your body taps into its own fat stores for energy right away. You feel great physically and mentally, and that mental energy gives you this whole feeling of like, I can do this, whether it's your work job or your physical job and your exercise routine, or just doing life. You feel like I can do this. When your body's running on ketones produced by the Accelerated Keto combined with intermittent fasting and a low carb diet, instead of utilizing glucose, ATP production, which is true cellular energy, increases significantly in the mitochondria, and you are living your best, most energetic life. It also has ingredients that turn the saturated fats into unsaturated fats in your body, so they're easier to burn. And so you're really tapping into those fat stores that we're all carrying around on us, and it's able to defat the liver as well. And we all know that I love my liver. Your liver is your biggest detoxification organ, and you've got to take care of it. When it's defatted and unclogged, it's easier for the liver to function and use that fat for energy and increase mitochondrial biogenesis. It's also where your thyroid hormones convert from the inactive T4 to the active T3, and that's going to enhance your metabolism and your energy. Next is the Accelerodyne, and this really is needed for the topic today. Why? Because it opens your pineal gland. It connects your body to your higher self and your brain to your body. The Accelerodyne iodine. Iodine is needed in all tissues, brain and body and thyroid. It increases that ATP production by 18 times, and that is the true cellular energy for the brain function, physical performance, wound healing, fat burning, and something called healthy apoptosis, which is the destruction of diseased and damaged and cancer cells. When ATP increases, energy and fat oxidation increases. It increases the metabolism and physical energy by supplying the iodine to the thyroid hormones. And you will see bigger gains in your exercise routine, in your workload, and things just become much easier. You are living a much less toxic life. It is also known to help reverse the damage done to the DNA by mRNA and everything that's been going on in the last 2 years. Next is the accelerated ancient salt. All of these supplements, by the way, are enhanced with scalar frequencies to increase their efficacy. And the accelerated ancient salt is no different. The proper amount of salt that is full of 62 minerals, not the regular salt that's stripped of all other minerals besides sodium that makes you bloated and really it makes your body just not feel great. This salt is providing all the minerals that you need for that electrical and chemical reactions in the body and for true hydration. It is also helpful in stimulating digestion and hydrating the cells when you're fasting. And it's like no other salt. It has a strong negative charge to it that pulls out the positively charged toxins, parasites, and undigested fats. Did you know that this salt can actually take a diabetic out of a sugar crisis if their blood sugar is way too high and bring it down? It also will help your appetite suppressant if you're trying to intermittent fast longer. If you're detoxing and you have those detox flu symptoms, putting a little on your tongue is going to pull you out of that as well. There is nothing like this salt, and I actually don't cook with anything else. It tastes so good. Next are these patches, these LifeWave stem cell patches. And the first one is the energy enhancer. These I put right here on my lung meridians, and they increase ATP production in the mitochondria, increase heart rate variability, improve the bioelectrical measurement or phase angle or the integrity of the cell walls. And the cell walls are what let the toxins out and the nutrients in. If those cell walls are not working and they're rigid, then you're not going to do any good by your detoxing and eating clean. It doesn't matter. Well, the energy enhancer helps that, and it also helps with inflammation, increasing energy, increasing caloric burn, and increasing fat burning and muscle growth. You combine that with the Accelerodyne and the accelerated keto, that ATP production skyrockets, and your energy does as well. Just after 20 minutes, you will feel a difference. Just the capacity of each cell increases. Next is the X49 patch. I'm loving this patch. And what it does is it increases fat loss and muscle gains. And it also helps with hair growth. And who does not want that, especially as we're getting older? It also helps with bone density and preventing osteoporosis, which is something really important to me as I have that running in my family. And that works really well with the X39 patch, which increases your own stem cell production and resets over 4,000 genes to a younger state in your body. So your body's literally acting as if it's your 20-year-old version of yourself. We are reverse aging. I'm not into anti-aging. I'm into reverse aging. I want my brain and my body to be working better than it did in high school and during my years in college. And it does. My brain's on fire. My body feels great. I'm working out as long and as hard as I did as my younger version. And I attribute it to all of these things. I give more tips and tools through my free group coaching, and you can join with the link below on Telegram or email me through the website acceleratedhealthproducts.com. The difference between me and any other group coach is I provide the most cutting edge frequency enhanced supplements that work synergistically with each other, and your body doesn't experience those flu-like symptoms. You truly do feel great day one. Leave a comment below if you're interested, or check it out on the website acceleratedhealthproducts.com. Now to the good stuff. Kute Blackson is a transformational speaker and national best-selling author of You.Are.The.One and his new book, The Magic of Surrender. My goodness, does this not apply to me and my family? We were just talking about this yesterday. Kute has been recognized as the mindfulness guru that billionaires go for advice. With this high social media profile, he's been featured on the Larry King Now Show, Dr. Drew, NPR, and so many more. Welcome, Kute. How are you today?
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you because this is such a topic in all religions. It doesn't matter what your religion is. And I talk about how in the Bible, it says, just God will bring to you what your destiny is or what your path is meant to be. And it's way beyond what we imagine or what our goals are. But that doesn't mean we sit passively, right? Yeah. We need to be active and do our part. But before we get into all of this, you have such a colorful upbringing and journey. Can you share your story?
Sure. I was born in Ghana, West Africa. My father's from Ghana. My mother's Japanese. I grew up in London, lived in LA since I was 18 years old, and partly now Mexico. So I feel like I'm a citizen of the world from everywhere and nowhere. From a very young age, I always felt people's emotions and feelings very deeply. And so I was a very empathic kid, and there was a part of me that always wanted to alleviate people's suffering in some way. I didn't know what that would look like. Also, as a young kid, I grew up in an environment that was a little different. Now, at the time, I didn't know it was different. At the time, I thought this is how everyone grew up, and it felt very normal to me. And so in some sense, it was a blessing to feel that way because I grew up with the sense of no limits, that everything was possible, basically. And so around age 6 or age 7, one of my first memories was seeing a crippled woman crawling on the floor. And she picks up the sand that this man walks on, wipes it on her face, and stands up. And so week after week, I grew up seeing blind people see and deaf people hear and all sorts of, let's say, miracles. The same man who essentially picked up will look at someone in a wheelchair and say, why are you in this wheelchair? You're not sick, stand up. Or somebody who had crutches and they hadn't walked in 2, 3, 4 years, he would say, throw your crutches away. Someone who couldn't see in one eye, he would touch their eye. Sight was restored. And so this man was my father. He built 300 churches in Ghana, West Africa, built a huge church, about 4,000 people in South London. And so I grew up in this environment, mystical. My father was a very mystical, spiritual kind of guy. Went to India in the 60s. My mother was Buddhist, so I grew up meditating with her. So it was a very eclectic environment, but just felt very normal to me. When I was age 8, I started speaking in my father's churches. That began my speaking career. When I was 14, everything changed because I was ordained as a minister and I was given the mandate to take over my father's organization. And it was announced that I, the son, was going to be the successor. And my entire life was basically planned out for me and mapped out for me. And as much as I felt to help people, I just didn't feel the sense that it was through a church, nothing wrong with it, or religion, again, amazing. But it just felt like my destiny was different, was a different expression. I didn't know what that was, but I remember it not feeling quite right. But at 14, being a kid, I was too afraid to speak to my father and tell him how I felt. I was too afraid that if I dared to speak my truth and be myself, that I would be outcast. I would be abandoned. I would be alone. I think so many of us as human beings, we are afraid to be who we really are. We're afraid to express our truth. We're afraid to express our authentic selves because the fear is, if you know who I am, you might not love me. And so we hold back so much of our gifts and talents and creativity. And so for 4 years, I said nothing. And when I turned 18, again, another pivotal moment of surrender in my life where I felt this calling to come to America. And specifically Los Angeles, specifically Southern California, because I would sneak into my father's bookshelf and read these self-help books. And all of the authors, the self-help American authors, seemed to live in California, specifically LA, Orange County, Newport Beach, San Diego. And I thought this is the Mecca for enlightenment. And it was going to be India or California. And I felt this calling to come to the US and go into this field and write books and inspire people. And so I had to have that conversation with my father. And I looked into my future and I saw the expected path that I could be successful following my father's vision for my life. The platform was being given to me. But I felt such a pain in my soul. I felt such a sense of self-betrayal, a sense of soul suicide, that if I didn't have myself, if I didn't have my truth, if I didn't have my own authenticity, what kind of success is that? That if I started to lie to myself at this moment to get love from my father and the world, that I would have to live a lie for the rest of my life, like many of us do. And that felt so painful. So I had that conversation and told him I'm not taking over. And we didn't speak for 2 years, and it was heartbreaking and so it was tragic in the moment, basically. And I felt like my life was over. And in the moment of darkness and despair, I said a prayer. I said, God, like, if this vision I have to inspire people and help people, if it's real, if it's true, like, give me a sign, give me some support. Long story short, a week later, someone hands me a magazine called The Economist. I felt this chill in my body. I look in the back, it says the American government's giving away 55,000 green cards in the green card lottery. And that's what I applied, and that's what enabled me to come to the US. I won a green card in the lottery, came to the US, 2 suitcases, $800, knew no one in Los Angeles, and just showed up following a dream, and went and found many of the authors and teachers and mentors and folks I'd read about that were icons to me, and learned from them. And then also started traveling the world in search of answers. Went to Israel, studied with rabbis, went to Thailand, studied with monks, ended up in India and had some really profound experiences in India. And out of that, came back to LA, and 20 years ago started coaching people one-on-one, and one led to two, led to three. And my work exploded. People started coming from around the world to transform and to heal. And then large groups, small groups, large groups, and now 2 best-selling books. So that's a bit of my journey.
Amazing. Definitely a world. You are literally the world in one, right? Well, you touched on something about being a child and having that fear of talking to your dad. And this is something that with my 3 kids, I grew up with a father that I was afraid of, and have dealt with, some of those daddy issues that most girls go through. And I did not want that for my kids. And so when there were the hard things, or I knew they were holding back from talking to me as a mom, I tried to make it a very open conversation and say, it's okay, be nice to me, but tell me the truth, because I need to know your truth. And I don't want you to live your life for me. I want you to live your life for you and be your authentic self and get over that fear. But let's talk about, what is fear and where is that coming from? Why are we, so prone to have that fear that's holding us back from being our authentic self?
Yeah, I think that, to me, fear is not good or bad. It's partly, it can be a signal of something we need to pay attention to, but also a protective mechanism. See, ultimately, when we're children, when we're really young, little babies, beings, we're in touch with our true nature. We're in touch with our divine self. We're in touch with, we don't have that much fear. We poop when we feel like pooping. We're not afraid. We'll run naked through the house, and we're not afraid that, what do I look like on Instagram? What do people think about me? We don't really care. We're not conditioned, you see, to be afraid of things. We'll run up to people and give them we're not so conditioned, right and wrong, good and bad. And so we're in touch with the unconditioned dimension of our being. And we laugh and we cry, and we'll jump on the table and sing, and we don't care that we don't sound like Bruno Mars or Adele, until we're conditioned and we're taught, that's good, that's bad, you could be better, why didn't you do that, and so a couple of things happen. We incarnate into this human experience. We meet our parents, and mother of 3, You're my hero, right? I don't know how you do it, but you're a hero. Truly, and to run a business. And I mean, all of that is amazing. And so we meet our parents. Our parents, they're just doing the best that they can do based on their childhood and their conditioning and their humanity. And, now we meet parents, we're born into a preset pattern, a framework that's preconditioned. Parents, grandparents, ancestors, ancestral, lineage, society, media, culture, and maybe mom had mental health issues. Maybe dad was an alcoholic. Maybe they were fighting all the time. Maybe there was abuse. Maybe they were great people, but perhaps they didn't know how to meet our emotional needs, and that was painful. So two things happen. The first thing is we learn to shut down, disconnect, and not feel the pain of what's going on around us. And as a result, we start to suppress feelings, suppress our feelings, suppress our emotions, suppress those feelings. And a lot of the unfelt emotions, pain, anger, fear, shame, sadness, hurt, guilt, starts building up. Layers and layers and layers and layers and layers start building up. And our true light, our true essence starts getting hidden underneath the freedom that we are. Then we learn all sorts of survival mechanisms to erect walls and disconnect and go into our minds so that we don't have to feel the pain. So we don't have to feel how afraid we were or how helpless we felt. And so now we've become a version of ourselves that's a defensive, more so we say, survival-based version of ourselves that we hold on to very tightly in order to never feel that pain again, never feel that emotion again. And so as children, we're these sensitive beings. And so when we feel all this stuff, it can be so scary. So now this defense mechanism that we've learned to be is protecting us from feeling that again. It's survival. It's survival. Then we learn a way of being, because often, not intentionally, but we're loved many times conditionally, or at least we interpret it to be that way. We start learning a way of being in the world. Like, who do I need to be in order to get love from my mom and my dad? Oh, I cry, and maybe dad says, hey, boys, don't cry. For me, I learned to be the good son, the responsible one. Nothing wrong with that, but there were so many parts of myself that I learned to let's say, hide, because I thought it wasn't acceptable. I was afraid. We start learning, wow, it's not okay for me to be that, to be emotional, to be funny, to be loud, to be, fill in the blank. And so we all learn a strategy and mechanisms. Who do I need to be to get love, validation, and approval? So we start developing roles and masks and personas, which then we hold on to. That becomes our identity, and it gets reinforced by society and life. And before you know it, we become this person that we think we are. It's not who we really are, but we've been conditioned. So often the fear is out of conditioning. We become conditioned to be this version of ourselves that we think that we are, to get the love and to avoid the pain. And so often that fear is arising from that place of, wow, if I'm not this, then I won't get love anymore. If I'm not nice, if I'm not responsible, if I don't take care of everyone, if I'm not, then I won't get love. And I think that's a deep fear that comes from sometimes not feeling that unconditional love from our parents. Like, hey, no matter what you do, no matter what you don't do, I will always love you. Versus, oh, why didn't you got A's, A minus? Why was it not an A plus? Or, why didn't you? And so we start learning, if I'm not a certain way, I won't be loved. If I am a certain way, maybe I won't get love. I'll be abandoned. And so I think deep rooted is that fear of not being loved, that fear of just who I am as I am is not enough. And so we often, out of that fear, we often seek that sense of validation and enoughness and love and approval in the world, by achieving more, by attaining more, by trying to be famous. I mean, so many things that it never really fulfills us, And so I think that's kind of at the root of it, really.
Okay. And it makes so much sense. And that's where I've really tried to make sure that as a mom, I'm telling my kids, be your authentic self. It's okay. You won't make, yeah, I will maybe get hurt a little bit if you tell me the truth, but I'll get over it, and I want you to be your authentic self.
It's
And
amazing.
if they learn that now, then hopefully they're able to take that into the world and be more grounded in their true self. And this is something, though, I leads me to my next question. How do you teach somebody to let go of our conditioned sense of self
Yeah.
that's based on this condition of our past and what people told us we are supposed to be?
I think first we have to become aware and acknowledge that we're conditioned. That's the first part. Because many times we're not even aware that we're conditioned. We think that who we are is who we really are. We think that this version, we'll call it ego, is what we are. Like, I am Sara, this thing. I am Kute, with all of my assumptions and associations and stories about myself. Ego is our perceived sense of who we think ourselves to be, our sense of identification. And so when we understand that maybe I'm not who I think I am, like the degree to which we're conditioned to believe we are this version of ourselves is the degree to which we're not free. And that's why you often hear people say, no, this is just who I am. I'm just independent. I'm just this way. And it's not. It's a pattern of conditioning that we hold on to. And so ego is not a thing, it's a process. So first we have to become aware and conscious that we're conditioned. Then we have to be willing to start observing our behaviors, observing our values, behaviors, belief systems, and questioning that. And then as we start to question and observe ourselves, then we can start witnessing and observing what we do and what we don't do. In the observation, you start realizing that, many of my conditioned mechanisms simply have a good intention. The ways I erect walls around my heart and don't open my heart is not because I'm bad. It's not because I'm not willing. It's just, I'm afraid. I'm afraid of getting hurt, like I was going to get hurt again. The job of the ego that we've learned to be is to reinforce its existence. But the job of the ego is to protect us and make sure we never get hurt again. So when we understand the nature of ego, what we think ourselves to be, that we're not really, but is what we think ourselves to be, then we don't have to like judge ourselves when we aren't how we would like to be, or when we're closed, or when we self-sabotage. We can understand that what's driving our behaviors and what's driving our pattern is survival, is self-protection, is fear. Really, underneath it is fear. We're afraid to let go. We're afraid to embrace the unknown. We're afraid to try the new. We're afraid to sometimes open our hearts and love. We're afraid to go on an adventure, do something different, which is why we tend to do the same thing over and over again. We're afraid to change, not because we're bad, just because the ego's job is to reinforce itself, and the ego wants everyone else to change, but it never wants to change because it's secure, it's safe. So when we can understand the drive of the holding on drive, then we can begin to realize that underneath that is fear, and we're holding on so that we don't feel those feelings of helplessness and feeling out of control, or what we felt in childhood. Then when we understand that, then we can maybe start seeing ourselves differently and meeting ourselves with some compassion, with some mercy, because we understand that the holding on is driven by fear. The fear of getting hurt, the fear of not getting needs met, the fear of not being loved, the fear of being alone, it's fear. So the only antidote is compassion, is loving. And that's what facilitates the letting go, when we can hold our patterns. First, when we can observe ourselves, then you begin to realize that if you can observe yourself, what you thought was yourself, your patterns, then you aren't it. If you can observe it, then you aren't it. Right. You are that which is observing. Then that allows some space between you and the behavior, between you and the holding on, between you and the resistance, between you and the pattern. Then there's some space. In that space, you have a different relationship with yourself. Then you can meet yourself and hold yourself in the context of love, context of compassion, knowing that these mechanisms developed at a time that you were very young, trying to figure life out, doing the best that you could do. And real healing is the application of love to those parts of ourselves that are hurting. And the part of us that is afraid is a part of us that's hurting. So each time we can meet ourselves with that loving and that compassion, that's what facilitates a bit more of a safety within, a bit more of a letting go inside of ourselves. So just meeting ourselves with grace, like we would a child, when a child is crying, like we would a little baby. How would we hold a baby? And if we can just imagine that and hold ourselves with that empathy, healing starts happening, because then we're not reinforcing and judging and abusing ourselves in order to change, in order to let go, in order to be better. So if people can remember that healing is applying love to those parts of yourselves that are hurting. One last thing is, one place that people can start if they really want to begin surrendering and breaking through, I would say it this way: one thing that keeps us stuck from truly shifting and changing are all the ways that we lie to ourselves. In so many ways, as human beings, we lie to ourselves. We stay, and sometimes we don't even know we're lying to ourselves, but we stay in relationships that aren't aligned. We betray ourselves to get love, validation, and approval. We suppress our feelings. We work jobs where we maybe are out of integrity and we're doing something out of integrity. And so there is no real healing, no real transformation without truth. And I think truth is real therapy. Truth is real yoga. Truth is real spiritual practice. And so I would invite everyone to really start with a couple of questions. Number one, what lies am I telling myself? Just sitting with that. What lies am I telling myself? And just feel that. Take all the pressure off of having to take action, because sometimes the fear of the consequence, kind of, the ego starts to confuse ourselves, and we start thinking, well, I don't know what my truth is. I don't know what I really feel. I don't know what I really want. I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know if this relationship is right, when deep down we have a sense, but we're afraid if I really own it, then I might have to leave. I might have to break up. I might have to move. And so the ego strategy is we stay confused. And so if you take the pressure off and just then say, okay, what lies am I telling myself? And allow yourself to just acknowledge, I hate my job. I hate my job. You don't have to leave, but I hate my job, and feel that. Just take a moment to feel that. I'm not in love. I haven't been in love for 5 years. Just feel that, and just see how that marinates inside. And so, what lies am I telling myself? What am I pretending to not know? And I would say, sitting with what are the lies that we're telling ourselves? What is it costing you? There is a cost when you lie to yourself. What we often feel is pain. That pain, to me, is a signal. That pain is feedback. That pain is a blessing. The challenge is, and when we lie to ourselves, it's meant to be painful. To me, the pain that we feel is actually a sign. I would almost say this way: the pain that we feel is a sign that we're healthy, because the fire alarm is going off trying to get our attention. The issue is not the pain. The issue is that we don't listen to it. We drug it away, sex it away, drink it away, smoke it away,
Yes.
shop it away. And we don't allow ourselves to feel that, to acknowledge what the pain is signaling to us that we need to pay attention to. And when we don't deal with the pain, it will deal with us. And I think what you're doing is amazing with your health company, because when we don't feel the pain, it will tend to manifest as emotional pain, emotional sickness, depression, anxiety, ongoing fear, lack of aliveness. Many times our lack of aliveness isn't even what we're eating, it's just what's eating us inside, what we're suppressing. And so we're suppressed so much that energetically, vibrationally, we feel so heavy, or it might manifest as a temporary physical ailment, a backache, a shoulder ache, a neck ache, or even if we keep suppressing the truth of what we feel, an ongoing dis-ease. And to me, dis-ease, the mind and body are connected. Dis-ease can be a manifestation of something, a deep part of something we're not paying attention to. And that dis-ease is an energy trying to speak to us, a part of us that is speaking to us because we haven't been listening. And so to me, where we can start telling the truth to ourselves. What lies am I telling myself? We have to want the truth more than we want what we have. We have to want to be free more than we want what we want. Freedom isn't free. Freedom requires letting stuff go, letting go of what's no longer aligned, letting go of what's not authentic, letting go of what's not true. But the truth will set you free. And I think if there's one thing people did, and they started telling themselves the truth, feeling the truth, speaking the truth, living the truth, so much would shift.
I 100% agree, and just want to emphasize something that you said as far as your body manifesting illness or dis-ease. And I use that term, it's not disease, it's dis-ease, because fear is held in your kidneys. Do you know how many times when I've had kidney issues, it goes down to the fear I've had, whether it's the fear, global fear, or just a personal fear. And with anger and frustration, they're held in your liver. Your liver is going to get backed up and have physical ailments. Back pain is related to other emotions. It's all, and this is all quantified. And we are getting into a world where more people are open to this reality of energetic talk. Before we keep going, because I could talk to you for 3 hours, we're going to take a short commercial break, and we'll come right back with Kute Blackson. Welcome back to Accelerated Health Radio and TV, and I'm here with Kute Blackson. Kute, we could literally talk forever, but I want to go back to the question or the statement I mentioned in the beginning, where that sense of surrender. People think of surrender as like just sitting back and being passive and let life do you. But that's not the issue. That is not what you mean. You need to be an active participant in the flow. And I love this. Can you talk about the art of surrender and what that truly means?
Yeah, there's this idea that surrender, I think we have so many misconceptions about surrender in our culture today. And this idea that surrender is weak, that surrender is giving up, that surrender is waving the white flag, that if you surrender, you're going to be a victim. You're going to be taken advantage of. It's like going off into the Himalayas and just like living, somewhere far remote from humanity. This idea that if you surrender, you won't manifest your goals, dreams, and desires, or you're going to get less in life. And what I want people to get is, let's reframe surrender. That surrender is, what if you didn't get less, but you got more? Like more than you could have imagined with your own human ego's capacity to imagine, because the ego, no matter how amazing, is still limited. And so when you surrender, you take the limits off of life. You open yourself to the infinite possibility, truly the infinite possibilities of the universe that you currently cannot see with your mental logic. So to me, surrender is the most powerful thing that we can do. Surrender is the real key, the real secret to manifestation. If you look at the great ones, whether it's Jesus, whether it's Buddha, whether it's Mother Teresa, whether it's Mandela, whether it's Gandhi, whether it's Martin Luther King, whether it's Bruce Lee, whether it's Muhammad Ali, at some point, they all surrendered themselves to life, to their soul's mission. They surrendered themselves to the universe, to God, to the infinite, to whatever you might want to believe, to life. And in that surrender, they transcended their own ego's limitation, their own human limits, and they tapped into a dimension of their being that was beyond themselves. And that's when life began to flow through them and use them in ways that they couldn't imagine. And so surrender, just to be clear, is a letting go of control, or I should say the illusion of control, because we often think we're in control, but in many ways we're not. That the last few years, I think, have shown us maybe we're not in as much control as we thought as a humanity. And I think we've been thrown into a global surrender seminar as a human species, and we're being initiated into a new way of living. And so surrender is letting go of control. Surrender is when we stop trying to force and manipulate life to fit into our limited idea of what we think it should be. Sometimes we get so attached to an outcome, so attached to a goal, so attached to a person, so attached to a specific outcome that we think this is the only outcome possible, that we don't realize we're limiting life with our attachment, and we're not truly open and available to the infinite ways, the infinite possibilities, and the mystery of how life and the universe can manifest, because we get so attached. So it's taking the limits off of life. Surrender is when we let go of the idea of who we think we should be and how we think life should be, so that we can be fully available to the life that is seeking to unfold, the life that is seeking to emerge, the life that is seeking to express. And just to be clear, it is to feel, I'll express it this way, it's to feel what your deepest truth is. Is to ask a different question. Like the old paradigm is simply about asking, what do I want? From an ego, I call it the ego-based model of manifesting. What do I want? And you might get what you thought you wanted, only to realize that sometimes what you thought you wanted was not satisfying, or what you thought you wanted was not what you really wanted. It was just what you thought you wanted based on who you thought you were. And so part of surrender is asking a different question. It's a bigger question. And that question is, okay, what is it that life wants to express through me? What is it that the universe, what is it that my soul, what is it that the divine, what is it that this intelligence of creation wants to express through me, create through me, write through me, and to open to that. And I think when we truly allow ourselves to attune, to be open and then attune to that, when we feel the authentic impulse moving through us, yes, this is the direction. This is the expression. This is what I'm here to do. This is what I feel is true. Then we can align our thoughts, our feelings, our actions in tune and in alignment with our deepest truth. That's when we go into action. Now our action is aligned. We're not just doing something just to do something. We're working in alignment and in harmony with life and with nature. So it might mean, yes, surrender is not an abdication of responsibility or action. As you had mentioned, it's not just a passive thing. It might mean you work harder than you've ever worked, because what you're working for and towards is something that is truly on purpose with your soul's mission. And look at someone like Martin Luther King. This guy didn't sit around and he wasn't lazy. He was 24/7 nonstop. And so it might mean you work more hours than you've ever worked, but you're working in integrity and in alignment with your true purpose.
Gosh, as you're talking, I'm just thinking about myself, because you talked about it's flowing through you. Well, I was a very shy, quiet girl in high school. The fact, if you told me that I would be podcasting and speaking and coaching and doing what I'm doing, I would have thought you were crazy. But I remember with my first interview, when I was on someone else's show, I just prayed to God. I said, God, just speak through me. Just use me as a vessel and take me where I'm meant to go. And every day with my work and with my mothering and everything, I'm open. I think I'm going to have a day in a certain way, but if it takes a turn, I try really to go with it. And when I feel my ego fighting that, it just doesn't work. You can feel that strain in your body. And I am eating up everything that you are about. And we just have a couple minutes, and I want to make sure that we have touched on everything that you want to touch on. But it's just, as you're talking about the ego, and you hear the quote, the ego is the enemy, and there's a reason, because if you let go of the ego and you surrender, but you live a more purposeful life, you are enjoying the ride. It's so much more of a life full of joy, and that journey. It's the journey that it brings you the light. But make sure we touch on, just in the last couple minutes, where people can find you, and if there's any other last thoughts that you want to give us.
Before I say that, you triggered a thought. It's like a question for people to sit with. If you think about a moment in your life when things didn't go according to plan or didn't work out, but it worked out better than you could imagine. How often does that happen? If you think of the best things in your life that have happened, did you plan them? Most of them, they kind of happened. You didn't say, okay, on Tuesday at this time, I'm going to go to Starbucks and meet my soulmate. They just unfolded, and so I think many times when things don't go according to plan, it's grace, it's a blessing from the universe, but we can't see in the moment. So just trust that the universe is always working for your highest good in every moment. Trust that even though you can't see in the moment, maybe 5 years from now, in retrospect, you'll look back and then you'll see how all the puzzle pieces fit together. So part of surrender is, even in the moment of unknown, being open, being curious, being available to let life lead you. And I think when everybody wants the magic in life. We all want magic, more magic as in like abundance and joy, like beyond our wildest dreams. But we don't want to surrender. And the next level of your life requires the next level of you. The next level of you requires that you let go of what's no longer aligned. So what do you need to release and let go of? As human beings, we tend to hold on, but we don't realize that holding on is blocking our blessing. And when we let go, we make ourselves available energetically, vibrationally, mentally, emotionally, physically. We make ourselves available for that next level. And so if you want more magic, my invitation is that you surrender. And the degree of your surrender determines how much magic you experience. I have proven it, and I've seen it in my own life, in the real world, over and over and over again. And so I can't guarantee what will happen, but what I can guarantee is it will be more and better than you could have imagined for yourself. And so if folks want to stay connected, a couple of ways: get the book, The Magic of Surrender. The paperback is available on Amazon right now. Second way, you can go to KuteBlackson.com, my website. Everything is there. If you feel inspired to go further on a deep dive, unconditioning journey, one of my favorite things to do twice a year is a trip to Bali, 12 days. It's called Boundless Bliss Bali, www.boundlessblissbali.com.
Well, when my kids are all out of the house, I will be there. Wow. Well, thank you, Kute. Honestly, we've got to have you back, because you're full of so much, and we are so aligned in what I'm trying to teach people. Because when you are doing everything that you're talking about, what else happens is the physical health also gets aligned, and you are disease free. So thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you everybody else for joining us today. If you are interested in me and my health coaching, I can also put together a personalized protocol for you. You just email me through the website, Sara at AcceleratedHealthProducts.com, and I'm happy to do so. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram under Accelerated Health Products, and my YouTube channel under Accelerated Health Radio and TV. You can also find this episode and all of my episodes on every podcast platform, including iHeartRadio, iTunes, Stitcher, Pandora, or whatever podcast platform platform you subscribe to. If you like what you heard today, please hit the subscribe button and share with a few of your friends, as you may need my help and they will too. As you share my channel, it helps me help more people like you and bring more cutting edge guests to the show. You can also use coupon W4HC20 for 20% off site-wide, and join us every week live at 1 p.m. Pacific time for my amazing guests and this show. Thanks so much and have a great day.